to Millennium News Hour. I am Tanziba Naurin. In today's bulletin, we will get you detailed news from across the nation and the world. Let's begin with the headlines of the day. Midterm election. Democrats beat Trump-backed GOP candidates in liberal states. Election scrutiny high, but US votes without major hitches. California hit by rain, snow, tornado on election day. Trump says he will make big announcement November 15 in Florida. Tropical storm Nicole churns toward Bahamas, Florida. Kim Kardashian honored at CFDA Awards, calls for inclusivity. Slain rapper Takeoff to be remembered at Atlanta celebration. Zelensky opened to talks with Russia on Ukraine's terms. US presses but Russia reluctant on Ukraine grain deal. Residents clash with Chinese authorities over COVID rules. North Korea denies US claims it sent artillery shells to Russia. This year's World Series is second least watched on TV. And World Cup has 3 women set to referee matches in Qatar. Now news in detail, and firstly the midterm election result update. Florida Republican Governor Ron DeSantis won re-election to a second term Tuesday in a victory over Democrat Charlie Crist, bolstering his rise as a prominent GOP star with potential White House ambitions. Democrat Maxwell Alexander Frost has defeated Republican Kelvin Wimbish for a Florida U.S. House seat, making him the first member of Generation Z to win a seat in Congress. Democrat Wes Moore was elected Maryland's first black governor Tuesday, defeating Republican Dan Cox in a state where Democrats outnumber Republicans 2-1. Democratic Attorney General Maura Healey has been elected governor of Massachusetts, making history as the state's first woman and first openly gay candidate elected to the office. Republican Katie Britt has won the U.S. Senate race in Alabama, becoming the first woman elected to the body from the state. Britt will fill the seat held by Richard Shelby, her one-time boss who is retiring after 35 years in the Senate. Britt defeated Democrat Will Boyd and Libertarian John Sophocles. Alabama Governor Kay Ivey won a second full term Tuesday against Democrat Yolanda Flowers, the first black woman to win a major party's gubernatorial nomination in the state, after surviving both a health scare and multiple Republican challenges in the primary. Republican Governor Henry McMaster of South Carolina has won a historic re-election bid after he faced voters one last time in his long political career. McMaster, 75 years old, defeated Democrat Joe Cunningham, who repeatedly highlighted the 35-year age gap between the two. Tennessee Governor Bill Lee has won the re-election contest, keeping Republican control of a top statewide office that hasn't been in Democratic hands for more than a decade. Lee defeated Democrat Jason Martin on Tuesday to clinch another 4-year term in office. U.S. Senator Richard Blumenthal on Tuesday won a third term in Connecticut office, fending off a challenge from first-time candidate Leora Levy, a Republican who was endorsed by former President Donald Trump. Democratic U.S. Senator Tammy Duckworth won re-election Tuesday in Illinois, defeating political newcomer and lawyer Kathy Selby. Republican Senator Rand Paul of Kentucky, a libertarian-leaning conservative and former presidential candidate, won a third term Tuesday by defeating a rival from the other end of the political spectrum, Progressive Democrat Charles Booker. Rhode Island Democratic Governor Dan Mackey has defeated Republican challenger Ashley Cullis to win his first full term in office. A fierce competition for control of Congress, along with dozens of governors' mansions and key election posts, was unfolding Tuesday as polls began closing in several closely watched states along the East Coast. In Georgia, Democratic Senator Raphael Warnock and Republican challenger Herschel Walker were vying for a seat that could determine control of the Senate. GOP Governor Brian Kemp and Democrat Stacey Abrams were meeting for a rematch of their marquee 2018 campaign. The candidates must win at least 50% of the vote to avoid a December runoff. Meanwhile, in Virginia, Democratic Representative Abigail Spanberger and Elaine Luria were fending off spirited Republican opponents. The results there could serve as early signals of where the U.S. House majority is heading as Republicans hope to reclaim suburban districts that shifted to Democrats during Donald Trump's tumultuous presidency. Final voting began without major hitches Tuesday in midterm elections under intense scrutiny after 2 years of false claims and conspiracy theories about how ballots are cast and counted. With polls open across most of the country, no big problems were reported early on, though there were hiccups in some places, which is typical on any election day. For example, vote tabulators malfunctioned in a county in New Jersey and one in Arizona, potentially requiring hand counting instead. Some voting sites in Pennsylvania were delayed in opening because workers showed up late, and others scrambled to replenish supplies of paper ballots that were running low. Since the last nationwide election in 2020, former President Donald Trump and his allies have succeeded in sowing wide distrust about voting by promoting false claims of extensive fraud. The effort has eroded public confidence in elections and democracy, led to restrictions on mail voting and new ID requirements in some GOP-led states, and prompted death threats against election officials. Election day this year was marked by concerns about further harassment and the potential for disruptions at polling places and at election offices where ballots were tallied. Election officials said they were prepared to handle any issues that arise, urging voters not to be deterred. Trouble with vote tabulation machines at 20% of polling places in Maricopa County, Arizona, generated criticism on social media, but a spokesperson for the state's elections department said the problem was minor. A powerful storm pounded California with rain and snow Tuesday, leaving one person dead and 2 others missing after they were swept away by floodwaters in a canal, while a tornado touched down in Sacramento County. The National Weather Service said the tornado touched down at 1:40 p.m., a few miles outside the town of Gulf. NBC affiliate KCRA in Sacramento reported that a tin roof on a barn was blown off and took down utility lines. No other damage was reported. The stormy weather raised concerns it could keep people from voting on election day, with flash flood warnings in effect in some areas. Former President Donald Trump said Monday he will be making a big announcement next week as he teased a third presidential run while campaigning on the eve of the final day of voting in this year's midterm elections. "I am going to be making a very big announcement on Tuesday, November 15 at Mar-a-Lago," Trump said before a cheering crowd in Vandalia, Ohio, Monday night, where he was holding his final rally of the midterm season to bolster Senate candidate J.D. Vance. Trump explained that he wanted nothing to detract from the importance of Election Day, even after he had sparked a frantic effort to hold him off after he had told people he was considering officially launching his next campaign Monday night at the rally. Trump has been increasingly explicit about his plans to seek another term, saying in recent days that he would very probably run again and would be formalizing his intentions very soon. Tropical storm Nicole churned toward the northwestern Bahamas and Florida's Atlantic coastline on Tuesday and was forecast to develop into a hurricane over the next couple of days, forecasters said. A range of warnings and watches remain in place. Many areas are still reeling from damage caused by Hurricane Ian, which hit Florida's southwestern Gulf Coast as a Category 4 storm in late September, before dumping heavy amounts of rain across much of central part of the state. Forecasters said heavy rain could fall on areas still recovering from Ian's flooding. Hurricane warnings were in effect for the Abacos, Berry Islands, Bimini and Grand Bahama Island, the Miami-based National Hurricane Center said in an advisory. Other areas of the Bahamas, including Andros Island, New Province and Eleuthera, remained under a tropical storm warning. Kim Kardashian was honored at Monday's Council of Fashion Designers of America Fashion Awards for her shapewear line and used the honor to call for designers to be inclusive for all body shapes. Kardashian was awarded the first ever innovation award presented by Amazon Fashion for her shapewear brand Skims. Co-founder and CEO Jens Grid and Chief Product Officer Emma Grid also joined Kardashian to receive the inaugural award. The fashion industry's equivalent of the Oscars was held in person Monday night and hosted by actress Natasha Lyonne and designers and CFDA members Joseph Altuzarra, Gabriela Hearst, Aurora James, Lazaro Hernandez, and Jack McCullough. The evening commemorated the history of American fashion and 60 years of the fashion organization. Fans of the slain rapper Takeoff, a member of the hip-hop trio Migos who was shot and killed a week ago, will gather Friday to celebrate the 28-year-old's life and musical contributions. Born Krisnik Curry Bell, Takeoff was killed November 1st in a shooting outside a Houston bowling alley. A woman and another man were also wounded during the shooting. No arrests have been made. A celebration will be held at noon Friday in Atlanta's State Farm Arena, according to a news release from Quality Control Music and Motown Records. Free tickets will be available to Georgia residents through Ticketmaster. Now it's time for global updates. Ukraine's president has suggested he is open to peace talks with Russia, softening his refusal to negotiate with Moscow as long as President Vladimir Putin is in power while sticking to Kiev's core demands. Vladimir Zelensky's appeal to the international community to force Russia into real peace talks reflected a change in rhetoric. In late September, after Russia illegally annexed 4 Ukrainian regions, he signed a decree stating the impossibility of holding talks with Putin. But the preconditions the Ukrainian leader listed late Monday appear to be non-starters for Moscow, so it's hard to see how Zelensky's latest comments would advance any talks. Zelensky reiterated that his conditions for dialogue were the return of all of Ukraine's occupied lands, compensation for war damage, and the prosecution of war crimes. He didn't specify how world leaders should coerce Russia into talks. The US ambassador to the United Nations reassured Ukrainian farmers Tuesday that extending a wartime deal to facilitate Black Sea shipments of Ukrainian grain and other commodities is a priority for the UN. The agreement, which Russia and Ukraine signed separately with the UN and Turkey, is set to expire on November 19. A Russian diplomat on Tuesday cited Moscow's dissatisfaction with its implementation, speaking to farmers and reporters at a grain storage facility in Kiev. US Ambassador Linda Thomas-Greenfield said she saw Ukraine as the breadbasket of the world. This war really has had an impact on the entire global food market that you are not able to get your grains out, Thomas-Greenfield said. Russia briefly suspended its participation in the deal last week, alleging a Ukrainian drone attack on its Black Sea fleet in Crimea on October 29. Ukraine has not claimed responsibility for the attack. Ukraine and Russia both are major global exporters of wheat, barley, sunflower oil and other products, and the war has caused shortages and fueled worries of a hunger crisis in poorer nations. Russia's Deputy Foreign Minister Andrei Rudenko said Tuesday that the Kremlin has not yet decided whether to extend its agreement with Turkey and the UN. Police in northeastern China said that 7 people have been arrested following a clash between residents and authorities enforcing COVID-19 quarantine restrictions. The violence comes as China reports new cases nationwide, with 2,230 cases reported Tuesday in the southern manufacturing and technology hub of Guangzhou. While the numbers remain relatively low, China has relentlessly pursued its strict zero-COVID policy of quarantines, lockdowns, and daily or near-daily compulsory testing. A news release from the police department in the Shandong city of Linyi said public security would take strong measures against those who illegally violated the legal rights of personal protection of citizens. Anti-pandemic measures have prompted backlashes across the country, forming a rarely seen challenge to Communist Party authority. It wasn't immediately clear who was arrested after the clash. News of the arrest appeared on social media Tuesday morning, but were erased by the country's censors before noon. North Korea has denied American claims that it's shipping artillery shells and ammunition to Russia for use in its war against Ukraine, and on Tuesday accused the United States of lying. The denial follows dozens of weapons tests by North Korea, including short-range missiles that are likely nuclear-capable and an intercontinental ballistic missile that could target the US mainland. Pyongyang said it was testing the missiles and artillery so it could mercilessly strike key South Korean and US targets if it chose to. North Korea has been cozying up to traditional ally Russia in recent years and even hinted at sending workers to help rebuild Russian-occupied territories in Ukraine. The United States has accused North Korea, one of the most weaponized countries in the world, of supplying Soviet-era ammunition such as artillery shells to replenish Russian stockpiles that have been depleted in the Ukraine. Now it's time for business news. Today's New York stock close price is 14,898.30. The NYSE Composite is increased by 80.67 points or 0.54%. Tokyo stock close price is 27,872.11. The Nikkei 225 index is increased by 344.47 points or 1.25%. Shanghai stock close price is 3,064.4928. The Shanghai Composite Index is decreased by 13.32 points or 0.43%. Hong Kong stock close price is 16,557.31. The Hang Seng Index is decreased by 38.60 points or 0.23%. Bombay stock close price is 61,185.15. The Sensex Index is increased by 234.79 points or 0.39%. Now a look of today's sports stories. The Houston Astros' 6-game victory over the Philadelphia Phillies finished as the second least watched World Series on television. The 6 games averaged 11,784,000 on Fox, down 1.3% from the 11,940,000 for the Atlanta Braves' 6-game win over the Astros last year, and ahead of only the 9,946,000 for the Los Angeles Dodgers' 6-game victory over the Tampa Bay Rays in 2020. Houston's 3-1 win in Game 6 on Saturday night was seen by 12,549,000 viewers on Fox, down 11% from 14,140,000 Atlanta's 7-0 victory over the Astros in last year's final, played on a Tuesday night. including Fox reporters and streaming. This year's Game 6 was viewed by 12,871,000. Game 6 was played opposite several college football games, including Alabama LSU on ESPN, Clemson Notre Dame on NBC, and Florida State Miami on ABC. The series finished with a 6.1 Nielsen rating and 17 share. The rating was the second lowest behind the 5.2 for 2020, which had a 12 share. This year's share marked at 1% increase from last year. Including Fox reports and streaming, this year's series averaged 12,023,000 viewers. Japanese referee Yoshima Yamashita knows that being one of 3 women picked to officiate matches at the World Cup, the first time a woman will be in charge on the game's biggest stage, is not simply about soccer. Stephanie Frappart of France and Salima Mukansanga of Rwanda must be of the same mind. They are in a pool of 36 referees listed for Qatar. The rest are all men. FIFA has also named 3 female assistant referees in a pool of 69. Nusa Bag of Brazil, Karen Diaz Medina of Mexico, and Catherine Nesbitt of the United States. Yamashita is aware that her selection put the focus on Japan's low ranking on most measures of equal pay for women and in global studies of gender equality. All 3 have worked men's matches, and their World Cup debut comes in a Middle Eastern country where the role of women is closely prescribed. Now let's have a look on today's weather chart. That's all in today's news. Keep watching Millennium News 24 for latest updates. Millennium TV USA and Millennium News 24 network is transmitted and available to be watched free for all LED TVs such as Sony, Samsung, LG, Roku TV, Amazon TV and Apple TV. And also in all European countries and Australia, available with Sky Network, Worldwide Jago TV, Radiant IPTV, Worldwide Jago BD Network and Horizon Satellite globally. Stay connected with us for all types of informative and entertainment program. Thank you.